6:30 p.m. we will begin our Board of Education meeting for October 13, 2021. Elementary School District 159. Roll call. Here. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, community staff. begin with our superintendent's report. Mission statement, I do apologize.
The mission statement is to educate, empower, and inspire the whole child.
Now turn it over to our superintendent for superintendent's report.
Well, I'm going to render to you, Madam President, because you have a guest here, and I'd like for you to introduce him and bring him forward.
All right, community, as everyone knows, we are in the process of doing our superintendent search. And with that process, I do have Mr. Alan Mosby from Isbe here to inform and give an update on what the process is and how we are, what step we are currently in the search of our new superintendent. Good evening. Do you have a mic for? Yes.
Everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. Again, thanks for having me tonight. What I'd like to do is just to give you a brief update as far as the superintendent search process and where we are right now and where we're going to be going over the next few weeks, so that you have some idea of the status of the search itself. Application for superintendent closes on October 25th, which is still another week and a half away. There have been 35 applications started so far, which is a really good number. As we look at other searches that we've done in our area especially, we're seeing applications for the position of superintendent that are open vary anywhere from like 30 to up to a couple of districts that are in the high 50s. But we still have a week and a half left, and we find that a lot of, in fact, many applicants who started applications haven't submitted them yet, but we're doing it until the last week. I don't know why, but they do that. And so chances are there's going to be some more than that, but as of right now, 35 is a very good number. We've got some districts that are in the 20s, and so I think 35 at this point is still enough to go before it closes is very good. Once the applications close on the 25th, what we do is, and I say we, that would be Dr. Trish Vineyard, who presented with me back during the summer, and myself. We read all of the applications that are submitted. Our purpose is to verify all of the materials that have been requested that are to see that they're included. And that would include a letter of application, current resume, the complete online application response is completed. The online application itself is probably about 67 pages long with several questions as well as other items that are asked for as far as work history and so on. So we make sure that's complete. We check for current recommendations, and we do require at least 3 current letters of recommendation that have been in the last 3 years for the candidate. We make sure that they have at least 3 current recommendation letters included. We also check for current Illinois licensure, and that's a pretty key thing because we want to make sure that the candidates that we bring to you to interview, ultimately, hopefully, will decide on to hire, at least hire one of those candidates, have current Illinois license. You don't want it to be June 30th and the candidate who you've liked or have chosen and decided this could be the best candidate, they're not quite done or they don't quite have that license. You have to have somebody who's got an Illinois license in their hand when they take the position on July 1st. So we make sure that the Illinois licensure is current, or if it's been applied for, that they have the documentation from the ISBE that they will have it within a reasonable amount of time. So that's the other thing we check for, as well as current transcripts. So all of those go into the complete application packet, and we see all of those for all of the candidates who submit. And then we will conduct initial screening interviews of potential candidates. We take that, the total number, and come up with about a dozen that we see as potentially being those that we would recommend to you to interview. So we narrow the total pool down to about 10 or 12 that we see as the best viable candidates. And they are ones who meet the expectations that has been identified in the brochure. We look for candidates who have had similar experiences in similar types of districts, as far as size, as far as demographic makeup, and as far as experiences too, in a K-8 district. So these are things that kind of help us in the screening process as we conduct the screening interview. We'll establish from that group a slate of probably 6 semifinalists that we'll bring to you. 6 to 7 is usually what boards want to have as their initial interview pool. So we will narrow our group down to probably 6, possibly 7 semifinalists that I will come and bring all of their material to you, all of their application material. I'll meet with you in a closed session and go through that material, and then also talk about some interviewing logistics and so on at that point. And then you as a board will interview those initial semifinalists and narrow it down to 2, possibly 3 finalists. At that point, the interview process can expand, and you can, as a board, decide to include more people as a part of that interview process for the final interviews. If you remember when we did our presentation, we suggested that the initial interviews of the 6 or 7 semifinalists be done only by the board, and that way you can get a consensus of who it is you'd like to be as the finalists for yourselves, and probably more personnel and possibly community members to be included in that final interview step. And we can talk about those logistics when we get closer to that time. But that would be the point where you would very likely broaden the interview process to include representation from staff and representation from parent groups, community groups, whatever you would like to include in that, as well as having the finalists come spend a day in the district, tour the district, meet staff, and spend more of an in-depth time with them prior to their final interview with you as a board. That's kind of the way that the process will play out from this point. When you do narrow it down to who you see as your final choice prior to offering a contract, we would encourage you to send 2 board members to his or her district of that finalist to visit their district as a site visit. You can meet with whomever you like in that person's district. What you do would be to tell them, you would contact that person and say, you are a finalist pending a site visit. We'd like to meet with possibly union leadership, possibly clerical staff, just some small groups that you can spend some time kind of finalizing your decision in the process itself, and kind of a chance for that person to show and tell. That they're going to show you in their district, they're going to show you what they've accomplished, and hopefully the people that they select for you to meet with will speak highly of them as well. So that's kind of the culminating point for you as a board to conduct that site visit before you offer the contract and complete the process itself. That's kind of a quick snapshot as far as where you'll be going from this point. There's the brochure, the sample. There's a brochure in the folder that I gave you that has been posted on a variety of job sites, and it's linked to many different vacancy listings, and that's from where most of our applications have been drawn. There's also some summary information from the survey, the initial survey that was put out. If you feel you'd like to have additional input, we can reopen that survey and make it available if you wish, and that will just provide you with additional information that can kind of go into forming your interview topics and interview questions and so on. So that's something that that you can certainly do and make that available on kind of an ongoing basis through the rest of the process, because if nothing else, it just gives you additional information and additional input from your stakeholders. That's kind of where we're at this point. If you have any questions, I can certainly try to answer them. Otherwise, I will just continue to keep in contact with Ms. Martin as we finish up the process. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, are all candidates that you screen
They don't have to. That's the preference for a district your size. We would hope that we would prefer that they have experience, but that's not a requirement. We do require, based on feedback from the initial surveys and discussion, we do require, of course, that they have teaching experience in a K-8 setting and principal experience and hopefully district level experience, whether it be as an assistant superintendent, curriculum director, that type of a position. But then superintendent, and as I glanced through, I've skimmed through the applications that have been submitted so far, and there are superintendents who are applying. So that would be the hope. But again, we also want to take into consideration where they've been a superintendent and the type of district where they've been, and if we see that as a good fit for 159. That's true too. And you could do a site, if let's say for example that your final choice happens to be a principal who goes through the process and you really like him or her, you could still do a site visit at his or her school. If it's a district level position such as an assistant superintendent, you can still arrange for some type of a site visit with him or her as well. Good question.
And that will include, like, let's say their assistant superintendent, their site visit is the district office. However, can we still go into the schools to see what they think of that assistant superintendent? Because they should still technically be in the buildings as well, depending on what their title is.
Right, probably, yes, that probably would be able to be the case. We've got some, we can provide you with some guidelines and some assistance of what site visit should include and how to go about doing it. It was a little difficult last year because when we were doing searches, schools didn't want people coming in the buildings, and they quite often it just didn't prove to be worthwhile. But this year, we see it as still being a good piece of the process. You have a question, Ms. Bailey?
I'd like to talk about the timeline.
Okay.
So if you're closing out the application process October 25th.
That is when we set as the deadline. I think that was 6 weeks that the application has been open, and that's we usually keep it open for 4 to 6 weeks for the online system.
And then how long would it take you to review the applications and narrow to the 10 to 12?
Probably another 2. We usually need about 2 or 3 more weeks to do that. About a couple of weeks to do all the review and screening, follow up with some references, and then to conduct the initial screening interview. So probably about 2 weeks after that. So that puts us into about mid-November, I think.
That's about a month, so we'll be somewhere in the middle of November at that point. And
Right.
then you bring it to the board, and the board then screens or interviews those 6 to 7 finalists.
Right.
And then it gets narrowed down again to approximately 2 to 3 finalists.
Correct.
And then potential on-site visits. So what do you see this timeline looking like?
I see that the interviewing part, our screening take, like I said, about 2 weeks, so we would be looking at about close to mid-November, and we've got the holidays in there as far as Thanksgiving and so on. I would see by the end of November, the board should be able to at least be conducting the first round of interviews, and we encourage you to do that all pretty much at the same time. You know, 2 to 3 nights in a row, or on a whole Saturday, whatever is most convenient to have all board members together, and then conduct those final interviews, hopefully within the following week. So by the first week, early December, I would hope that you would be able to be at the point where you can maybe schedule a site visit for your top choice.
And do you feel like this is a time frame for us to be able to get the highly qualified, or are we a little bit behind the 8 ball?
Absolutely, you're right in line with a couple of the other larger districts in the suburban area who are closing their searches now too. So I think you're not behind the 8 ball at all. I think you're right in a good time frame. If you're able to get all of this conducted and basically by the Christmas holiday time, to be able to be at a point where you've got a choice that you've already at least made a verbal offer to and have narrowed it down to maybe offering the position before the holidays, you're ahead of the next wave of districts that are going to be doing searches come March and April.
Final question.
Yes.
So, did it just go for me? It absolutely did. I had another question, but I can't remember it now. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. But no, timing-wise, we're really in good shape.
Out of state candidates. So if we have candidates who are applying from outside of our state that would have to fly in, if they're part of our finalists, is that going to delay anything, or I just, because then if we have 2 board members who's going to go to, though, if that's a finalist and they have to fly out of state, will that delay this process beyond?
I don't think, that's a good question, and I don't think so, because they know that, they'll know what your time frame is. If they're a semi-finalist in that group of 6, they'll know when the expectation would be that you would be conducting your final interviews generally within that next week or so. And so they'll have to make those arrangements, and they'll know that they'll work within your schedule. Because if they want to be your superintendent, they'll make it work to get here. And so I think that unless something is extreme, my guess is that it won't be an issue. That's a good question.
Any other questions?
What else? Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And again, I'll continue to keep Sherry updated, and if there's any questions you have, so I can go through her to let me know, and we can continue to get to where we'll be able to bring the search to a close. And I know your regular meeting in November is that. We won't be ready at that point to present candidates, so if possible, we would request to maybe schedule a special meeting towards the end of the month. And again, it'll be in closed session, in about a half hour is the amount of time that we need, so it wouldn't be a long time that would be needed, but probably that would be better than trying to rush and squeeze it in just to get it into the November meeting. So we can talk about possible dates for that as well.
So the only thing I wanted to do per our conversation earlier, just to be transparent with everyone, is just to inform how the forum goes when we invite the community out to see the candidates. I don't think you touched base on that.
Okay, that's kind of up to the board how you want to do that as far as who you want to include in that final step of the process. If you want to have me come and facilitate the community and staff piece of meeting the candidates, which sometimes goes better than having the board do it, I can certainly do that. That's something that is not part of the original proposal, but I can certainly do that. We can talk about that and work that in, where I can come and facilitate those community and staff interview pieces of the finalists, and then you as a board would interview them separately. So we can talk about that. And at that point, you would know exactly how many staff and community people you might want involved in that final step as well. Okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you probably within a month or so.
All right, thank you so much.
I'll just leave this up here.
Yes, that would be fine. Thank you, and at this time now, Dr. Alford, I'm going to turn it over for your superintendent's report. Thank you again so much, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mobley. Thank you, Board President. At this time, we're going to resume our round of districts because we want to know the good thing. The board wants to know the good thing that's going on in the schools. And so our first principal, who will be conducting a round of district, is Mrs. Etherly. She so graciously raised her hand to take on the first night of that to around the district. So, Mrs. Etherly, you want to come forward with your presentation? And thank you for volunteering to be the first candidate.
You're welcome. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and jump on in. Happy fall to everyone. It has been some blissful weekends. Hope we all have been enjoying it. So we're just going to have a very brief snapshot of what has been transpiring in the home of the astronomically proud Astros. And as you can see in the first box, it's just a snapshot. There you have our logo and our wonderful home site. And the major areas we're going to talk about is Hispanic Heritage Month, Mandarin Reading Workshop, PBIS, and Family Reading Night. So as you know, we are coming to the last few days of National Hispanic Heritage Month. So nosotras somos, I have myself, your building principal, and I have my partner in success, Mrs. Prairie. And so in a nutshell, a couple of things about us and our culture and our environment. In 2021, we were noted as organized for improvement, and in 2020, well organized, which is the 2 highest levels you can achieve on the 5 essentials. We have gained a second-year partnership with the Museum of Science and Industry. This came to be through one of our tall actors, Mrs. Kristen Smith, as she applied and we co-interviewed and went through that process. There was even a science night. It was one of the few suburban schools outside of the Chicagoland area to be featured in that celebration. In 2019, our Illinois Science Assessment, we were 6% percentage points above the Illinois overall. And before the dreaded COVID, we were making some gains, increasing both our math and reading proficiency rates by 8 percentage points and higher between 2015 and 2018, something we are very, very proud of. All right, so just to kind of give you a look inside our halls, as I had shared previously, National Hispanic Heritage Month. What you will see to the left, if you remember the movie Frida Kahlo, film featuring Selma Hayek, our two fourth grade teachers created the most amazing mural with a depiction of her image. The picture does not do it justice. And then you'll see they made trifold pamphlets as they took a tour across many of the Latin American countries throughout our global world, including Spain. And so that was really, really amazing. And then you'll see various faces. You'll see Lin-Manuel Miranda, Roberto Clemente, Ellen Ochoa. And so what we've been doing each day is presenting our morning announcements in a bilingual fashion. We would just say buenos dias, give the date, and then we would feature a well-known Hispanic American or well-known Latin person of color in the various areas of Cuba, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Spain. We made sure, because we are the Astros, we signified our STEM lab through Ellen Ochoa as the first Hispanic woman to become an astronaut, and Angeles Averino, who was the first woman to board a British and U.S. ship to study plankton species. So now we are into our math and reading studies. So many teachers are very familiar with this workshop. And for the most part, we're also familiar with math workshop. But we're finding that especially as a result of the pandemic, we're going to have to go back to basics. So we conducted a professional development session with our staff members to show them and remind them how they're both similar. They have more similarities versus differences, and how what you do in a 90-minute reading group, you can do in a 60-minute math workshop. And then we shared the breakdown. This is in great compliment to the district's work, as heralded by Dr. Adams and her team. And so we're just doing our part to reinforce that same language to make sure that we're all on the same page. We are now gearing up for our Red Ribbon Week, and there you see our calendar where we're going to have some theme days, as led by our social worker, Mr. Jabari Dowdell, who's the PBIS coach. He does share that position with Mrs. Goodlow, but she's currently on maternity leave, so he has been holding out the helm with the support of Mrs. Tancredi, our assistant principal. And that concludes my presentation. I hope I did that in 10 minutes or less. Thank you so very much.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Great job. Awesome. Thank you. You can always count on Ms. Ethely to volunteer to be the first. So thank you for that. And next month, thank you Astros, because next month the Eagles are on. And Polar Power Eagles are on next month. So thank you for that. This Friday will be coming up. Friday will be coming up to give the ESD report. That's the ARC American Recovery Plan grant that we received, and she will be giving a report of all the steps that we took throughout this whole process of developing a ESD report and budgeting guidelines.
So the evening board education, the microphone.
Okay, can you guys see? Okay. Well, while he's doing that, good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent, employees, and our ESD 159 family. I am going to go over our ESD grant. First, I want to start by saying that initially, due to COVID-19, the federal government provided 3 funding opportunities. The first was ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and this is the final, ESSER 3. Each of the grants had their specific guidelines. And so I just want to go over ESSER 3 with you guys and tell you how we came about doing some of the things that we're doing. Okay, so ESSER 3. Okay, as you see, the program is the American Rescue Plan. We call it ESSER 3. And if you see where it says, where it's highlighted, the purpose is to provide local education agencies, it's like a school district, right? Including charter schools who are LEAs, with emergency relief funds to address the impact of COVID-19, okay? And the impact that it has had on both elementary and secondary schools across the nation. The grant date is due, now we've already completed ours and it's already accepted, but the due date is up to June the 30th next year. Reimbursement, the funds are reimbursable through September the 30th, 2024. When can we start the date for the process of the program? Effective July 1st, 2021. Okay, so here are some of the requirements. And as I said earlier, each of the 3 grants had their own requirements. One of the major and most important requirements in this particular grant is that 20% of the funding allocation had to address learning loss due to COVID-19. In addition to that, we had to establish, which we had already done, a safe return to in-person learning plan. That plan had to be shared with the community and be on our website 30 days before we received allocation. In addition to that, we had to establish a use of plans or use of funds plan. That funds plan also had to be on our website and available to the community. In addition to that, like all federal and state grants, we had to follow the Federal Funding and Transparency Act, and that's for federal funds. Keep in mind, this is a pass-through grant from the federal government, and then we had to also follow GATA, which is the Grants Accountability and Transparency Act, established by the state of Illinois. So this is the process that we went through, because one of the things that we had to do was involve the community and get feedback on how the money was going to be spent. Okay, so we announced a survey. We announced a survey in our quarterly newsletter that went out, I believe, in June of 2021. Then we also sent out a postcard, and board members should have copies of those things in your packet. But we also sent out a postcard announcing an online survey. The survey was conducted, as you see, from June 28th through July the 18th. We extended it by a week because we wanted more input, more respondents. And as you see, we had 311 respondents, and we developed priorities based on the survey results. Then we started working and updating the return to school plan. We were able, throughout the state of Illinois, there are various training and webinars held so that we can become familiar with the guidelines and the requirements of this grant. The grant was released in July of 2021. So Dr. Elford met with key administrators to determine what their department needs were. She also discussed ESSER 3 with the Board of Education. I was responsible for ensuring that our FADA and GATA compliances were met. We took into consideration the strategic plan of 2019 because that set a roadmap to where we want to go in the future. The grant just allowed us some of the opportunities to do those things. I started working on our use of funds plan. Then I started working on the grant, submitted the grant. And once you submit the grant, you go back and forth with the principal consultant. For every grant that you have, there's a principal consultant that will review it, give you feedback. She may say, I don't like the way that sounds. You need to elaborate on that. That happened quite a bit. You need to elaborate on that. And, then she advises me. We finally get It's not a final approval, but it's a substantial approval, which means that the most important components of that grant have been achieved, have been approved, and then we get the final approval. Okay, so I'm going to go over the survey results for you. As you see, these are the 5 categories: addressing academic concerns, addressing student social and emotional learning needs, professional development of our staff, increasing technology, and facility upgrades. We had 311 respondents, and as you see, most of them were parents and guardians. Now, if you add the numbers up, it's going to come up to 345, and that reason is because some respondents identify themselves in 2 categories. You can be a parent and be an employee as well. So as you see, 236 guardians, 40 teachers, 3 district administrators, 18 other district personnel, and 48 residents. So these are the results of the surveys, and board members, you should have that in your packet as well. Okay? Firstly, we wanted to address academic concerns. So as you see, to provide additional school days, extended school days, school hours, summer enrichment and tutoring to accelerate learning, you see how they rate, okay? High priority, the respondents saw only 53.3% saw that as a high priority. But if you look at the second one, to provide instructional material, resources, intervention activities to meet the academic needs, you see how much larger that is. 86.8% of our respondents saw that as a priority. Third, to secure diagnostic assessments and tools to have students, parents, and families to identify specific academic needs, 65% saw that as a priority. And you can see the moderate priority and the low priority as well. Then we looked at addressing students' social and emotional learning needs. Okay? So you can see right here that the high priority in this area is 73.6%. Professional development, the high priority was 72%. Increased campus technology connectivity and to support student learning, 63.3%. Now, facility upgrades, and we've heard that, and we've heard that time and time again, to provide HVAC filters to improve indoor air quality and upgrades throughout our schools for the safety of our students and staff. 84.6, which is really 85%, saw that as a high priority. Now, we also provided an area where additional comments could be provided, and if you see, here are some of the comments. I like the one that said provide better food for students, but yeah, that was a good one. And then, of course, they talk about addressing the impact of COVID-19. They talk about parent outreach, the landscaping of the building, making classrooms to have air purifiers. So these are some of the things that were comments. Okay, so let's talk about the allocation and how it's calculated, because that's important. Okay, under the ARP, which is the American Rescue Plan, ESSER, state SE is state education agencies must allocate at least 90% of their funds to subgrantees, which would be a school district, right? So that was one of the requirements. Again, 20% of the allocation had to address the academic impact of learning loss. In addition to that, the state of Illinois and all states throughout the nation had reservations. And reservations were, as you see here, state-level reservations to address evidence-based activities and interventions. And the key word here is interventions to respond to students' social, emotional, mental health, and academic needs. These are considered set-asides. And so the intended purpose must address 3 required fund use: learning loss, summer school, and after-school enrichment. Okay, so what you see here is the breakdown of the allocation. Okay, so initially it was $4.7 million, really $4,785,000. But when you add the 3 set-asides or reservations, one for $38,000, one for $7,619, actually 2 of them, then our total allocation was $4,838,634. Now, according to the regulations and the guidance, we were to allocate $957,000, however, towards learning loss. However, we allocated $1,300,000, as you see on the screen. Okay, so I'm not going to run through, but I'm going to go through the expenditures and the amount. And again, this is based on Dr. Alfred interacting with the administrators, our strategic plan, and her interaction with the Board of Education. So, as you see, the first allocation was hire an attendance coordinator to increase attendance, and you see it highlighted to reduce learning loss for 2 years. So that's $39,000 each year, which comes up to $78,000. That attendance coordinator needs employee benefits, so that's $33,000 for 2 years. Then we're going to hire an intern, a technologist, to help with technology needs, help the teachers in the classroom at a salary or stipend of $30,000. That technology intern does not get benefits because he is an intern. Hiring 2 nurses at $59,000 per year. That's where the $118,000 come from. You see the benefits for both nurses at $33,000. We're going to purchase social emotional resources. Again, you see it highlighted to address learning loss at $25,000. We are going to purchase, now this is for next school year, guys, a new math curriculum, and we estimate that at $350,000. Electronic devices, we always need new electronic devices because after a few years they're no longer good. So we're going to purchase more Chromebooks at $130,800. Hazard pay. We were fortunate to get hazard pay for a second time, and most employees got $1,000. We estimate that to be $264,000. Seventh University. Seventh University is a program that will be offered here at Colin Powell, and it will provide STEM education, after-school enrichment, social, emotional programs, and career exploration for our students. So that's $60,000. If you see it highlighted, it says to reduce learning loss. Okay. Payment of 4 technology teachers for our coding class. Prior to COVID-19, our elementary school students had coding classes. And so we want to continue with those coding classes for our elementary school teachers. In addition to that, not in the 2021 school year, but in the 21-22 school year, we're going to utilize $86,000 in our elementary schools to assist with mentoring and tutoring programs. Next, you see $277,500, and that is the Principal Choice Award, or Principal Choice for School Improvement Plan. So we're going to provide $150 per student per school. So we're estimating, and this is just an estimation, of 150 students in our school district. And what will happen is each principal, they have submitted their school improvement plan. Based on the school improvement plan, the things that they have noted that they want to do, they will utilize that money. So, for example, Colin Powell have more kids, so they'll get more money. So it's $150 per child. Then we are contracting with proximity learning. Now, proximity learning is important to us because when kids are out of school due to COVID or a family member, whatever the issue is, when they're no longer in school and they're learning remotely, this is the program that we will be utilizing. for the playgrounds. As you guys know, we are updating all of our playgrounds, okay? Now, it's important to note that the state procurement process will be followed. Any grant that we do, that's what the state requires in writing, that we're going to follow the procurement process. We're estimating that to be $365,000. In addition, the facility flooring. We know that we're going to be removing the old carpeting in the classrooms throughout the school district, and it was really important. I went back and forth with the principal and that's the principal consultant, because she kept saying, well, why is that important? So I had to do more research, and I had to say, well, we're talking about air quality. We're talking about breathing and inhaling and dust, which weakens the immune system. And so she went on and agreed with me. But you see, we're estimating $342,000. The HVAC system is $326,000, and $337,250 is going to go towards the furniture that will be utilized in the STEM Center. The biggest expense in this grant is $1.9 million, and that's the estimation, right? And that's for the extension of Seton Prairie Elementary School. So when you add everything up together, you see our total grant allocation. Does anybody have any questions? No? Then I'll go, should I go with that name? Should I go with the? Yeah, because they have questions to come back. Okay, all right. Secondly, I want to talk about the beam signing ceremony. So in August, we had a groundbreaking ceremony for the STEM Center. And it was nice, it was well attended, but what was missing? Our children. And so we decided to have a beam signing ceremony on November the 16th, and we're going to feature our scholars. So our principals are going to pick 5 kids out of the elementary schools. They'll pick 5 kids for a total of 20, and then Dr. Streeter, because Golden Powell is bigger, he's going to select 10 kids. So we'll have a total of 30 kids. And what they're going to do is come over to the facility, and they're going to actually sign a beam. And this beam is going to be unique because this beam will always be shown. It'll always be visible because it's going to be in the area of the STEM Center. So you can look up and you can see it. So the kids see their names up there. And, you know, their family members can come and they can see it too. So we're really looking forward to doing that. What we plan to do is to send emails out to our parents, to send invitations, and to post the information on the website as well. So out of everything going on right now, I'm most excited about this because it highlights our kids and it gives our kids an opportunity to be a part of this. And I think this is something that they will always remember. So that's all that I have in my department. Is there any questions?
I want to go back to the ESSER 3. I want to know if that's going to be uploaded to the website so that if any of the community want to go back and look at that, they'll have an opportunity to view it for themselves.
Are you speaking of this? Oh yes, it can always. In addition, this is not a problem. I can definitely upload this, and I want to let the community know that the use of funds plan is on the website as well, and that's very, very explicit because it outlines everything that we need to do, that we're required to do by the state of Illinois and the federal government. So that's on that as well. If you go to the website, you should see it right there, use the funds plan. But yes, we can definitely do that with no problem. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Friday. Very good. Thank you for that. Awesome presentation. I'm going to move into some of the items that I had to share as I brought forth before about the Gloria J. Taylor Foundation. Our conversation with the Gloria J. Taylor Foundation to provide college and career readiness for our middle schoolers is going to launch next week on October 20th. These services will be provided through the Upward Bounds program. You know that the Upward Bounds is a federally funded program the Gloria J. Taylor Foundation received an awesome grant that they have agreed to partner with 150 of our scholars from Poland PAL to be a part of this amazing program, as well as they will also be partnering with our feeder high school 227. So we look forward to this amazing program coming to our Eagle Nation. Board, in your package, you have a 5-year policy review update. Please, these are some critical policies that cover board governance, board training and development, school board members mentor, board superintendent relationship, policy development, press policy procedures, school district philosophy, as well as the opens meeting minutes, animals in classrooms, Title I, family and community engagement, school bus safety, students with disability misconduct, district elections, equal opportunity and minority recruitment, migrant students, ELL students, access to electronic networks, assemblies and ceremonies, curriculum complaints, chronic infectious diseases, PTO and booster clubs, and access to closed meeting minutes and reporting. So as I said, these policies are very critical. I urge you to read each carefully. The policies will come back next month for a second read and then the following month for approval. As we know, Governor Pritzker issued the order, the vaccination order, that all public school staff be vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. And I'm happy to announce that 90% of our staff is now vaccinated. In terms of weekly testing, those staff members that are not vaccinated will receive weekly testing through our weekly testing programs that we have instituted and launched on October 1st. We have technicians that go to each school, and at a designated time, they provide on-site testing for employees. However, any staff member who wishes to be tested, vaccinated or not, may be tested. The technicians will also provide vaccination, they will provide the testing, but they will also provide vaccination. So they will do the COVID testing, and they will provide vaccinations as needed. They will not be providing the boosters as of yet, but that is coming. In addition, 2 phases of that was phase 1 of the Sleeves Up program. Phase 2 of the Sleeves Up program will be weekly testing for students. We have sent consent forms out to our parents. We're urging our parents to please complete the consent form. Parents have the option to opt out of the program if they wish. So we will begin a weekly testing that hopefully we will get forms back by October 22nd, Dr. Branch, and hopefully we can launch by October 26th. That's our goal. The staff that will be testing will be taking the PCR test. The students will be taking the antigen test. We are aiming to make testing easy, effective, and accessible by making it possible in the schools for all staff and students. Construction update of the STEM district facility. The project is moving along quite well. The rain has prevented some progress, but it's still relatively on schedule. The current updates are the concrete foundation work is complete. The backfill is complete where needed around the foundation area. The plumbers are installing underground piping inside of the building envelope. Excavation contractors is installing storm water pipes. Electrical contractors will begin underground installation next week. Mason contractors is on site and has started laying concrete blocks. And those are the walls. The application for electrical service for ComEd has been submitted. ComEd is processing. The application for natural gas has been submitted. Ninthport Engineering is processing. And the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District permit for water and sewage is pending. In addition, a meeting was held this week with the design team from Tria Architect to participate in the STEM district facility material allocation and furniture selection. So please go by all and see this amazing structure evolving.
Dr. Alfred,
Yes.
for the COVID, what kind of COVID testing would we be providing for those on site? Which one, Pfizer? Do you know?
Vaccination.
Vaccination.
Pfizer.
It would be Pfizer. Okay.
And let me add, is that right, Mrs. Jones? It's Pfizer. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Seton Prairie addition. You know, we've been talking about Seton Prairie and talking with Mr. Pasco and her team about the space that's needed at Seton Prairie, and more so now than ever with COVID and having to keep kids at a distance is becoming very difficult at Seton Prairie. And so we have put the renderings and all the information in your board docs again, because if the building is going to be done, the addition is going to be done by the 22-23 school year, the architect needs to move forward with the bidding process for a construction contractor. So we do have this on the docket tonight to go on for the architect to move forward with the bidding process. With the supply and demand as it is right now, he wants to start early because it's difficult getting supplies.
So I didn't notice on the bid that we had an option to change out that HVAC system. Am I correct? This is the building where they have to go on the roof to turn the heat on and the air on?
Correct.
And if we're going to make changes to that building, this would be the opportune time to do it, and that quote did not include that.
You let me work with the architect because that was something different and it wasn't on our initial list to change that out.
Right, it wasn't on the initial list, but I did bring it up at the last meeting to see if he could.
No, I'm talking about the list that we did with the director of building. It was not on there, but we'll look into it.
Are we also able to have him come back to just have an additional meeting with the building principal just to make sure that all bases are touched in regards to because we're just being pretty more just to make sure with that type of budget we can't expand it out to the best that we can with that school.
We did initially have it, we have 4 rooms, but it was going to be more costly, as well as we were going to take a little more, based on that.
I can't hear you.
Oh, did you hear me? Oh, I said it was going to be a little more costly and it's going to take a little more space going back. So, you know, we can have them to come back, but, you know, and look at it again. And we did. The architect, myself, and Mrs. McCaskill did meet initially for the initial meeting. And so, you know, he can come back and talk to her, but I just want to, just because of the situation that the world is in, I want to make sure that as Ms. McCaskill and her team next year move forward, that they have the space that they need and a science lab
Right.
that they don't have.
Right, so that's what I was saying, is just to have the architect come back just to make sure, because if it's only 3 rooms and that one room is included in the science lab, and technically she's only getting 2 classes for the kids, which would be a waste of money in a sense. And doesn't, I mean, it's like it's necessary, but at the same time, we're gonna do it, especially with ESSER funding and things like that, we might as well make sure that we're building it out the best way that we can with as many rooms as she can get, and then just doing one big project.
Okay. No worries. Okay. Transportation. Ooh, as we close this first quarter of the school year, I just want to thank everyone for their patience as we continue to work through this transportation crisis. As it stands today, our transportation crisis is not getting any closer to resolution. As such, we are devising a contingency plan to keep our students safe amid this upcoming daylight saving time. You know that on November 7th, daylight saving time comes about and it will be getting darker much sooner. Right now, our all calls for buses are coming around 4:45, between 4:45 and 5:15. It's good and dark. And so we are making some proposals. We have another meeting. We had one meeting yesterday. We have another meeting tomorrow with the bus company. We're making some proposals to them, and they're throwing out some ideas, but we're working very feverishly to make sure by November 7th that we have a plan in place to get our kids home before dark, get off those buses before dark. And one of the things that we have proposed to them is if we can release Payable a few more minutes early, will that give enough turnaround time to get those buses there? Another thing is we're in conversation with a supplemental bus company. However, this company has to be vetted and have to follow state regulations. And there were some things that this company did not have in place. We might bring it forward to the board this month. And so we're still working on that, but still talking. If we did bring a supplemental company that could take on 3 of our routes, what would that look like? So we're still planning with the bus company. We have a very critical meeting, and I think Ms. Smith sent out an invite to certain principals to be on there, for some critical principals to be on there for tomorrow's meeting, and I would appreciate it if you are there and to participate in this meeting. They did that.
Dr. Alfred, do you know if that bus regulation has any, you may not know this, but I'm just saying that 227 is shuttling kids back and forth with these coach buses all throughout the day. Maybe perhaps that's a bus company that is able to help you with that. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Thank you, I will check on that tomorrow. Yeah, the regular, they have to have they can have buses and they can do charter, but they have to have a certain type of license. And so this person cannot have that type of license that the state permits to run students at. So that's what they're working on. If anyone knows a company that they can recommend, we would definitely vet that company and see if they qualify to transport our children. Please do, because we have to July 7th. We do not want our kids to get off buses, because buses do not let them off in front of their home. They let them off on corners. And so we want to make sure that our students are safely home before dark. We have some good news. Girls basketball, as well as other fall sports, will kick off on Monday, October 18th. The league has graciously agreed to allow girls to enter and play the remaining weeks of the season. I thought you, Ms. Franklin, would like that one. Schedules are not yet complete. If I'm wrong in this, Dr. Streeter or Mr. Brown, let me know. Schedules are not yet completed due to having to reorganize the current schedule and fit our girls in. And so with them accommodating our girls, and we are so thankful for them doing that. But we should have a schedule, Dr. Streeter, soon.
One quick question on that. Title IX. I know Title IX speaks to equality, and I think we're okay with it, just largely because we didn't have any activities all throughout the year. So we won't be non-compliant because that wasn't discriminatory. However, how does that impact our Title IX funds since we're starting late?
It doesn't. It does not, because it wasn't discriminatory. It wouldn't affect any funds at all. And I think lastly, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Every October, people all over the world show their support for people affected by breast cancer. Let's then pick this month and support those that are affected and those surviving this dreaded disease. Thank you, Madam President, and with that, I give my report.
Thank you. So at this moment, we'll have Mrs. Phillips go to the audience of visitors.
Thank you, guys. The Board of Education Public Comments Forum, thank you for attending the Board of Education meeting. The following policies and procedures will be followed for those persons requesting to make public comments. Comment forms submitted after the start of the regular board meeting will not be addressed. The Board of Education will not engage in a debate. If the comment or question requires additional research or data, the district will post such information to the district website within 5 business days of the board meeting. All responses to questions may be viewed under the Board of Education drop-down menu at www.district159.com. The Board of Education meeting is a business meeting held in public. Please note that the Board of Education practice requires the members not respond to the public. Attendees are advised to refrain from making comments to the Board of Education as well. If you are unable to speak, you may submit your comment in writing and it will be shared with each board member. The Board of Education recognizes the right and desires of the public to express their thoughts, concerns concerning the school district by way of making a public comment. Anyone wanting to address the Board of Education should do so in an orderly manner during the public comment portion of the meeting. In order to ensure an orderly meeting, however, comments, disruption, and/or outbursts during the business portion of this meeting will not be permitted. If members of the public disrupt the Board of Education's meeting, we will take any and all steps necessary in order to ensure that proper decorum is reestablished. This can include such persons being removed from the premises so that we can accomplish the necessary business of the board. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. Persons making public comments will be allowed 3 minutes. The Board of Education may extend or reduce that time limit at its discretion. The Board of Education will limit the number of public comments on a particular topic or issue. If you are a member of a group or organization involving the same issue, you should coordinate your comments with others to avoid repetition.
Thank you. Just going to have Dr. Alfred go back to some things that I want to check out.
I do apologize, I'm trying to hurry the meeting along, and I forgot my 2 favorite directors, Mrs. Owens, you want to come forth and give your report, and then Dr. Adams.
Mrs. Phillips, you don't have to repeat all that again.
Yes, please remember all of that that she said when we get back there.
Good evening, board. Good evening, community. I have a couple of things here that I will go over. Starting with financial dashboards. Taking a look at the fund balance for the month ending August of 2021. Across all funds, our beginning balance is $38,815,917.60. This period, during this month of August, we have received a total of $2,303,973.14 of revenue. Our expenses across all funds listed, $3,456,082.18. Are there any questions regarding the fund balance? Next, I will go over a quick snapshot of the nutrition program update. Last board meeting, we discussed that there were different things that were problematic. We wanted to make sure that the students were fed without missing instruction time and that the flow of service was moving very well. So I did do 2 visits. And I also had a meeting with the Just Dash representative. And from the first visit, which was last week on September 28th, I went from 10:30 to about 12:30. And the food delivery truck did not deliver the food. And it caused a huge delay of service and preparation time. So I told them I will do a revisit. However, instruction time was not missed, but the length of time it took for all of our students to be serviced was really close to that bell. And so we wanted to make sure that we discussed ways to improve that. And so we had a discussion about fine-tuning that flow of service and streamlining communication so that way when there's a need, it's directed to the right area, and so that way everything can be taken care of. And so I did a revisit, and it was a very, very, very good flow of service. Within the first 12 minutes, every student was served. And I said, this is what we're looking for. I also did a quality service review, and their menu was baked barbecue chicken. They had cabbage and baked macaroni and cheese. And I saw that was on the menu, and the students were really, really rushing, and they were excited about the meals, and I was surprised. I didn't think that students would enjoy those meals, but they really did. And I overheard one student say, that was fast. So he was excited that he got his meal really, really fast. We also changed the POS system, the point of service system. So because we are under the seamless summer option, our students, we don't have to record each and every student's name at this time. So we just take track of how many students are eating, and it allows for better flow. So everything pretty much went well. After doing that quality test for the food, with the service provider not being able to use salt of any kind, they have been able to season the food very well to the liking of our students. And so I had a staff member say that the kids really enjoyed the food. So that was a good thing to hear as well. And so I just wanted to give that report regarding the Christian program. Are there any questions regarding that? Very well. I'll go on to the STEM funding update. In your packets, there was an update made to what you had. So there should be a hard copy that was provided. Yes. There's a hard copy that I provided this evening because we made updates to it after it had already been sent out. The vendor called and asked, can you get this on the agenda for the board meeting for approval? And so I wanted to take care of those that are taking care of us. So there have been updates. So today we have currently spent $1,950,988.29 total on the project as a whole. Where you requested any dollar amount spent, whether it be a flyer created, whether it was a balloon tossed, all these are the expenses. So it's not just expenses that we're paying to the construction workers. Any expense that we have is listed here. And so total we spent $1.9 million. We have left to pay $6,482,087.04. So that is where we are currently with our STEM project cost. Are there any questions regarding where we are with the project?
You have a beginning balance at the very top of that for $7.7 million. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, so the construction project in the contract is $7,701,035, of which 9.5% of that cost is to go to the architect. And that is the architect's fee. And that would be the $731,598.33, bringing it to a total of the $8,432,633.33.
Was that fee in the original, do you know if it was in the original contract? Because
Yes.
I thought we told the community $7 million.
This fee for the architect, I reached out to TRIA Architects and requested a copy of the contract. It's from 2015, and it was signed off on for 9.5% of the project. And so there's an allocation for depending on the cost of the project. As the project amount increases, the percentage changes to try to keep it, the cost of the architect in a certain ballpark. So if the project amount increases, just for the construction project, then the architect's fee would decrease slightly in percentage. So it operates differently.
So you mentioned 2015, so that's TRIA's contract with us.
Yes.
Anytime they do a project like that, they can see the Prairie, so we need to make sure that we put their fee even when it comes to City Prairie, so that amount, so we'll know what the true amount is.
Correct. So once this new project for Cedar Prairie is approved, we'll have to pay attention to that contract to see what the percentage is for that project.
And Chris, just to make sure, that's the company that we have to use Tria because of the school district. So we don't have to use it. Okay. So we need to start, is it possible for you to start just seeing what other construction companies are out there aside of Tria, just to make sure that we're using
The architect companies, absolutely.
Just to make sure we're using the better, and making sure we're getting the right price. Because if we only use one and they're going to our district, they can give us any price and we don't necessarily, we can pay less.
So if I can get another bid on Cedar Prairie expansion?
Yeah, if we can do that, even for Cedar Prairie, because it's possible that the principal or, the design team can come up with a lot more for her space if we, bid out for another architect company who can give us more of what we're asking for. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
They kind of tell us, like, this is what you can get and we can't do anything more, but if we go through someone else, they probably say, well, we can beat that and give her 2 additional rooms, or not just speaking on that, but even with our other projects. We need to start at least having 3 other bids.
The only thing is what we're speaking of now are the architects, and them designing a layout to give you a price.
Right.
That is costly. So you'll have to pay for each vendor, if they so choose, to even come up with a schematic design, to give a price to go out to bid. So it is a more detailed process, but I can get that information to you as far as what is entailed in reaching out to other architects to give packages to go out to bid.
And when you make, because I do believe that the architect has to be on record with the state, so when we do seek, please seek the information that's needed to get the architect on record with the state.
So how do we get that listed, just to make sure that we're,
Mrs. Owens will,
I'll reach out and
Chris, you want to speak on that? They can't hear you.
There's a detailed process in the school code. I'm sorry, it's actually called the Professional Services Selection Act, which is an Illinois statute. If you want to hire a new architect that's not currently working for you, so it's a little bit of an involved process, but it will get done.
Yeah, so even if we let out one other just to make sure, just only because our prices are coming back rather high. Yeah, and I know things have gone up, but.
And that's another thing I didn't know that there's an architect fee from what we were told. But when we were approving this wasn't in the original dollar amount. So next time that since we're presenting Cedar Prairie, this needs to be in there so that we can be transparent, because this is a hidden cost that took our $7 million that we agreed on up to $8 million. And we started this project at what, $5 million? So, we just steady going up and not coming down.
Right, and as our architect, or, as the district, I think that we should have been told about this.
Mrs. Owens, can you check on that, make sure, because it seemed like a conversation that I did have early on with the architect, it was included. So if you can really check on that, I know that their amount is that percentage, but within that amount that was given to us, I do believe that the architect told me that it was in there.
Yeah.
So I didn't think we had to add the 9.1% in the cost. So if you would please check on that, because I'm probably 95%.
Will do.
Certain. We will get back with the board at the next meeting and update this, please.
The last thing, we have a couple of reports that I have for the board. Requests that were made regarding more information, detailed information about the transportation reimbursement, what that is, that's the site-based expenditure report, explanation of what that is, EIS report as well. And so in your packets, you have a document to give a snapshot of those 3 areas. And so, in brief, the site-based expenditure report is a new platform that the state has implemented to make sure that we're providing equity for our students. And so when we're spending money in one building for one population of students, the state wants to know that, are we spending that same amount of money on all of our students based on what location they're in? And so that's in essence what a site-based expenditure report is. It takes all of your sites and the funds that you're spending on them so that you can come down to the dollar amount of how much we're spending per student. And in essence, that is in a nutshell the site-based expenditure report.
And there must be equity amongst that, those amounts.
Yes, that's what we're looking for, equity. Are there any questions regarding the site-based expenditure report? Okay. And then there were questions about the pupil transportation claim. So the pupil transportation claim, every year, at the end of the year, we have to take into account all of the expenditures for our transportation. And that includes our regular ed transportation, our special ed transportation, our out-of-district placement transportation, as well as our pre-K transportation, because they have the door-to-door service. And so the reimbursement claim is taking into account the dollars that we spend, as well as the mileage, so that the state will assess how much will be reimbursed. There are certain costs that are not reimbursable, and then there are other costs that are reimbursable. And so it takes into account all of the transportation services and expenditures that we have. And then based on the input, there's already designated places that will automatically deduct amounts that are not reimbursable. And so there is a reimbursement of 82% of the special ed pupil transportation costs, and then the formula has 81% for regular ed. So the special ed reimbursement is always higher than the regular ed transportation. And so this year, we're looking to receive reimbursement in an estimated amount of $107,518.39 for regular transportation. And then for special transportation, we're looking at $259,744.96. Yes, this is lower than typical, but due to us not having the need to use the transportation services as we did in prior years, in normal years, not a lot was spent for transportation, therefore not a lot will be received. Are there any questions regarding transportation? And as the state goes, they will reimburse us, but they can't give us a specific date. It's just usually, so last school year, we'll get it sometime this school year. But they can't give a date because they don't know yet. And the EIS report, last but not least, the Employment Information System. This is one of our state systems that deals with many areas of reporting. We have to do multiple reports. State report card data is used from the input that we give for that state report card. They collect data, whether it's the salary, whether it's unfilled positions. At different times, all of these different things are due to the state. What happens is as we do these reports, by their deadlines, they're collecting that data. And then when you see the Illinois School Report Card, that data has been compiled, and then you'll see the projection in that report card. Are there any questions regarding the EIS system? If not, that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Dr. Adams? And team? Good evening.
Happy fall, and that's what everybody says to us this evening. It is my pleasure to share with you an update on our curriculum and the things that we have going on in CIA. I want to start with just updating you. As you know, or as you recall, we are in the midst of a
The training has been a variety of different areas, different resources that have been afforded to them in our new reading series. So today, I have the pleasure of sharing with you a snapshot of what that high-quality teaching looks like here in our district. First, we will have Mrs. Bates, who will walk us through a vocabulary exercise that is aligned to a Common Core standard in phonological awareness, identifying syllables and sound. Then, we have a very special treat. We will observe an ESD 159 educator carrying out the same type of lesson with our kindergarten students. So, community members that are here, you get an opportunity to sit back and observe. Board members, we're going to put you to work. So, get ready. Are you ready, Mrs. Bates?
And this is all under 10 minutes,
This
board.
is all under 10 minutes. We're about teaching and learning on the go. So, we're going to show you. All right.
Did everyone get their packet? Okay, so I want you to open up your cards. You should have, your first card should look like this. Excellent. So in our kindergarten classes, they all receive these wonderful word cards, which is a part of the new reading series from HMH. And so we're going to begin the activity that you will see a snippet of, and just follow the directions along with me. Are you ready? All right. So I'm going to hold this up, and the word is community. Can you repeat that for me? Community. Very good. I got great listeners. Now I want you to clap. I want you to tell me how many sounds when you clap. When you clap the word community out, how many sounds do you hear? Are you ready? Let's go. Community. Community. How many sounds? 4. And this is exactly what you'll see today. This is what our students do right at the very beginning. So then I'm going to explain a little bit about the word. Community refers to a group of people who live and work in the same place. And the teacher will give a wonderful sentence. Everyone in our community went to see the parade. So to use this as context clues, students are able to look at the pictures and also have a reinforcement. So go to the next one. Okay, need a little more energy. Yes, that's right, that's right. All right, the word is strike. Excellent, 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 excellent. So, now we're going to count. You ready? You're going to clap. How many sounds you hear in strike? Ready? Strike. How many sounds you hear? 1. And again, that's the reinforcement. It's the I do, we do, you do. We keep it going. And then we also explain, we use the word in this sentence. I wore a red stripe and white shirt. So it continues in that process. And now I want to move forward with our video. Super, super. We call it a right there material. It's wonderful.
First we will say the word. Serious. Serious. Awesome. Let's knock it out. Serious. Show me how many syllables. 3. Good job. Reflection. Reflection. Good job. Reflection. Reflection. Awesome. Let's type it out. Reflection. How many syllables? 3. Awesome. Next word. State. State. Get out. State. How many syllables? 1. Good job. All flowers. Sit down, children. Pick up your board. This time I want you to write how many syllables are in the word on your board. I want you to write how many syllables are in the word on your board. Quick, quick, quick.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Can we all give Mrs. Burrell, Ms. Burrell, a hand? This is what teaching and learning looks like here in ESD 159, and we will continue to bring you snapshots so that you can see real time exactly what we're doing in teaching and learning, in curriculum and instruction. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's in front of our babies, it's with our babies, it's providing them with the support that they need in order to be successful. So with that, I give my curriculum report, and now I'm going to give the report for parent advisory. I have an update on the FACE program, which is our roadmap to assist parents in enabling their children to attain optimal success in and out of the classroom. We want to empower parents with techniques that can be utilized in their homes to increase success stories as it relates to creating world-class learners. Through the FACE program, we offer strategies through trainings, workshops, volunteerism, and community events. Parents are provided the necessary tools to be partners in their children's education. To that end, this year, we took a different approach in identifying what programs would be offered. Building principals, PTO presidents, and Mrs. Dina Jones planned 2 family engagement workshops per building. These workshops are organized and hosted on the day of the event by the building principals, thank you very much, and their APs. The workshops are scheduled for the months of October, November, January, and February. And I know in October we just completed Neil Armstrong's workshop a couple of evenings ago. The second component of the program involves the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council. The Advisory Council is composed of parents and community members. The council meets with the superintendent for the purpose of sharing information. The meetings for 21-22 are Monday, October 25th, Monday, January 24th, Monday, April 25th, 2022, of course, and otherwise as needed. Family and Community Engagement Advisory Council, which is another parent group, it was established to help plan the Big 5 events for the school year. So that's in collaboration with Mrs. Jones, our FACE coordinator. The FACE Advisory Council is composed of members from all 5 of our schools' PTOs. And so those 5 events for this school year, we had Saturday, August 21st, which was the Unity in the Community Back to School event. Friday, coming up soon, Friday, October 29th, a Trump or Treat Festival, which is an event to promote families reading together. Therefore, every student that attends the event will receive a booth, craft, and goodies. I did say booth. Like a booth, like a go. So we are still in need of volunteers if anyone is interested in assisting. Thursday, December 16th is Virtual Science Family Night. A mad scientist will teach families how to do fun experiments in a home setting. Thursday, February 24th, 2022, we are planning for the 9th annual Essence of Fatherhood Award ceremony. And then Thursday, April 28th, we are planning for the 2nd annual Distinguished Motherhood Award ceremony. Those are the events thus far that are planned for family and community engagement and will be hosted by Mrs. Jones as well as our PTO presidents as well as our principals and our APs. And with that, I give my report.
I do have one question. If we have ideas for a parents' night out event that we were interested in hosting, sponsored by the board or things like that, how do we implement that? Because I did speak to a comedian who's a well-known comedian in our district. She goes to, her kids are in the district. She wants to do a parents' night out comedy show. I would like to connect her with you all. Her name is Corey Bell. She's traveling with Monique right now. and things like that, but she wants to host a parent night out comedy show in our district to give back.
That sounds awesome. If you could reach out to myself or Mrs. Jones, we
Okay.
can make sure that as part of our big five.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
great.
wonderful. Thank you for that.
I just saw on the flyer. Thank you for that, Dr. Adams. Thank you very much, and you are correct. This is where the rubber does meet the road with our students, because without them, there's no us. So thank you for that. Yes, and I was going to bring Dr. Branch forth to talk about the tier 3, but we're going to save that for the meeting of the whole. Is that okay? We're going to save it for the meeting of the whole, because my time is up here, and I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone for participating tonight, and thank you so much. And back to Mrs. Phillips, our secretary.
Thank you. So we're going to go over the responses from last month's questions that were asked, and then we have one question that was submitted tonight. So Barbara Burns, her question was, when does the school board plan to approve the final budget? The board response was the final budget is on the consent agenda to be approved Monday, September 20th, 2021. Her next question was, when does the school board plan to post the tentative budget of an Isbe tax levy and certificates form to the school district website? The board response was the tentative budget has been posted since August 9th, 2021. The tax levy deadline for posting is not until December 30th, 2022. 2021. Monica Benton, question. I am writing tonight to express a concern for the changes being made to our custodial staff. A decision was made last Friday afternoon to change the schedule of the custodial staff. The email was sent to staff late Friday afternoon. The email indicates the new schedule for the custodians. As you know, we are already short-staffed custodians, and some of them have been told that if they request vacation, it may be denied because we are short-staffed. I have been approached by several custodians expressing their concerns for the new shift they have been assigned, and many have stated that they will probably be quitting because they are unable to work the shift they have been assigned for various reasons. I advise them to reach out to Dr. Johnson to express their concerns. It has been stated that they are hesitant because the district doesn't respond and they feel their concerns are falling on deaf ears. The buildings were previously being cleaned with the 2 shifts the custodians were working. First shift from 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. I am not sure why there is a need to go back to the 3 shifts. Also, there are some buildings that no longer have a mid-shift, specifically Woodgate. There is no consistency. To date, I am aware of about 5 to 7 custodians that may be quitting because the new schedule doesn't work for them, and staff were not given an opportunity to make adjustments in their personal lives to accommodate the change. Calls were being made just this afternoon as late as 2 p.m. for changes to be made effective tomorrow. How would you feel if that were you? I would hate for us to lose any of our custodians. There has to be something that can be done to save our staff and to work through changes collectively as a unit. The board responds. At the end of every day, we have commitment to providing a clean and safe environment for our students and staff. After numerous complaints in regards to cleanliness of the buildings, the district had to quickly look at the root causes. After much examination, one root cause was the adjusted schedules were not working. It was determined that the schedules were not allowing sufficient time for custodians to deep clean the buildings in the evenings when students are gone. Many common areas and restrooms were not being addressed daily, and that was unacceptable. As such, for the sake of our students and staff, we had to adjust the custodian schedules. The adjusted schedules are not outside of the bargaining agreement with the district and the union. While we knew the changes were last minute, but they were extremely necessary for the health and safety of all. Thank you. Questions from today, after school activities. What programs have been selected to begin and how were these selected? How will the district catch up with other districts that have already begun?
I'm glad we kind of got that one answered tonight, and then it also will be posted on the district webpage, the schedule. And Dr. Streeter will have for Colin Powell, any of the other programs that are within the school, you can talk to your building principals, but that question was answered tonight, that's the only reason why I referenced that one. Is that the end of the question?
That's the end of the questions. Thank you.
Okay, and prior to going to closed session, I do want to recognize, we do have 2 board members who are being recognized on tonight. We do have a board member being recognized for being a leadership member. That will go to Mrs. Veronica Franklin from Isbe, so thank you so much for all that you do. And then we do have a special board member tonight being recognized for master board member for level 1, and that will go to Mrs. Carolyn Palmer. Thank you, ladies, and to the entire board for all that we do and things that we may or may not be recognized for, but it's greatly appreciated that you as well as myself, we all come to these board meetings, we go into the schools, and we try to just keep the district moving and running for us. So thank you to everyone, and congratulations to Mrs. Farmer and Mrs. Franklin. At this moment, I'll make a motion to go to recess to closed session to discuss employment, compensation, discipline, collective negotiation, bargaining, and board self-evaluation. Motion. Motion Palmer. Second. Phillips. Thank you so much for community, parents, staff for coming out this evening. We will be back shortly. I mean that. Chris.
Hey guys, how are you?
No, we're back in. We're back to. Take care. All righty.
I know. I was told he could still be heard. Right. Who's custodian? I don't know. Wait a minute, just, I know you can still hear it over here. It's still. We're getting text like, hey. It's still on. The volume is still on. Why not? I put it on mute. No, somebody called me and they said they could hear me. Literally.
Yeah, it should have been on mute. Mute.
Somebody literally just called me
Yeah, I don't know how.
and said, I can hear you.
I wonder, well, it's a delay, but yeah, well, I know I put it on mute before after they walk out. So let's see here. If you put it.
Motion to approve the consent agenda? Brown? Yeah, it's just like how it's normally be. Yes, those are separate. It's number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes. Wait, I get what you're saying. So motion to approve the open and closed session minutes for the September 8, 2021 meeting minutes and the September 2021 special meeting minutes. Yeah. Second by Palmer. Yeah. I'm breaking it down for Mrs. Brown, so to make it separate, because she's not voting on the other two. If the first one, the way I did it was actually an accident, it would have voted on the entire agenda, but we would have just approved everything and moved on. So we're going to break it down. And I usually don't say it that way, but just to make sure we clarify it. So, roll call. Yes. Motion to approve the accounts payable and payroll as follows. Number 1, payroll for September 10, 2021, $819,080.33. Payroll for September 24th, 2021, $1,118,786.70. I'll do those two and then the other two separate. Payroll for September 10th and payroll for September 24th. Roll call. Or motion. Yes. Hitchcock? Yes. Motion to approve accounts payable through September 30th, 2021, $1,885,674.52.
I want to clarify why I'm voting no. There are a few things on there for which I need a little bit more clarity, so I'm saying no.
Yes. Motion fails. Motion to approval of Cedar Prairie School Edition. I was going to ask that too. We'll table approval of the Cedar Prairie School Edition while Chris looks into find out another architect. So that one will place on motion, and then what we'll do a special meeting. Because I thought that we were approving the school Prairie State addition, saying that we wanted an addition to it, But, so we vote, yes, we do want the addition. Does that mean we have to go with that architect? It doesn't have anything to do with the architecture on here. It just say approval of Cedar Prairie School addition.
Is there a dollar amount attached to that motion?
No.
So essentially, what you would be moving is exploring the addition and starting from scratch and seeing architect is going.
Yeah, do you want to just say that? Just table it? Okay, so we're going to table the approval of Cedar Prairie School addition, just so we can do more research with the architect. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. We at least approve it to entertain that we know it needs an additional. Because there's no dollar amount. It's not saying TRIA, motion to approve TRIA. It's not saying that. It's just saying motion to approve Cedar Prairie School addition. So we would take it. Okay, so I can say that then. Okay, so motion to approve Cedar Prairie School addition, that we're motioning to add an addition to Cedar Prairie without the consent of TRIA being our architect until we get further bids. So motion to approve that. Motion. Pending further bids, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve certified staff, Denise Novak resignation, Valerie Keller resignation, Rose Willard amendment, Deborah Ford amendment, Gwen Johnson rescind, Dr. Regina Goodwin Hampton hire, Charmaine Taylor hire. Motion to approve the support staff employment termination, Aisha Bradley resignation, Sabrina Harston amendment, Lorenzo Skinner hire, Deja Brown hire, Asia Dye hire, Jeanette Prue hire, Namaya Warner hire, Asia Hudson hire, Monique Adams amendment, Jordan Moore hire. Can we take Monique Adams off of this, or does she still stay on because she resigns? Okay, so Monique Adams amendment, Jordan Moore hire. And a motion to change the two custodians, Jeanette Prue and Naima Warner, pay rate pending approval of the pay rate. So motion. My motion. All right, motion to adjourn?
I have a question. There was one mileage for an employee. I'm not trying to talk about it, but I want to make sure it wasn't part of one of the votes that we already did. It's in there, in one of the votes.
What? We did this week.
So, yes.
Just finish the roll call, please. This is the motion to approve the work of certified staff. and the support staff, the hires and the fires.
Yes.
And committee of the whole? Mileage. Okay. Okay, so motion to approve accounts payable for the not for the $1,885,674.52. We're going to table 2, which is our mileage for one employee, as well as the BMO Bank Harris. How about we just table and we can have a special meeting for that? That way we can have Tria come back and then, because I don't have the numbers and I want it to be in document correct. Okay, so we're going to continue to table that. I do apologize, community. So we're going to table the payables. There may be a special meeting for that, as well as we're going to table seated praise. We're going to approve seated Prairie with the motion to bring it back for a different architect or Tria, just so that we can get the correct prices. So a motion now to go adjourn the meeting. Yes.